Will the House please come to order and members kindly take their seats? Welcome back after our lunch and committee recess. It's Thursday, May 11th, and this is our afternoon session. The order of bills we will be taking up, we'll start with S39 and then move to H31, followed by H62, and then H67. With that, next is Senate Bill 39, which is an act relating to compensation and benefits for members. Members, please hold one moment. We just need to make sure that sound is working. Okay, we are testing the sound. Okay, thank you. Okay, members, next is Senate Bill 39, which is an act relating to compensation and benefits for members of the General Assembly. Prior to third reading, we have several amendments in the calendar to consider. We will start with the first amendment to be offered by the member for Northfield, Representative Donahue, which is printed in today's calendar. Member from Northfield.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think for some people, opposition to this bill is to the underlying concept that there be increases in compensation or benefits. And Madam Speaker, that is not my position. I'm very open to a new analysis since it's been some time. I'm open to some of the reasons for why we might want to enhance opportunities for those who would have challenges serving. For me, having children is one of the critical things that we need to look to. But I do want to see, I would have preferred to see a more robust study and more analysis of all of the factors before putting any of it into statute. Nonetheless, one of the positive things about this bill is that although they'll be in statute, they won't have taken effect until after we hear back from the work group that's set out in this bill. So my first amendment today is an effort to add one piece of robustness to that work group so that it will have hopefully the best possible information coming back next year, which could lead to adding or changing the focus of where we make changes. What it does is adds in the list of things that the work group looks at. One of the other topics that was discussed a little bit on the floor yesterday, and that is the comparison to what Vermonters are making. I did look up and find in the Senate committee page what they had looked at from Joint Fiscal that identifies the median and mean Vermont individual salaries. But I would note that it goes beyond salaries. I don't know many employees who receive mileage reimbursement for getting to and from work, or who receive meal stipends. And we know that there are some Vermonters who get no health benefits at all, and others who do, but many who have co-pays and out-of-pocket costs that are high enough to put some of their health care out of reach. So I think all of those things need to be part of the work that's done by this work group, and my proposal of amendment is to add one further section, as you'll find on page 3570 of today's calendar, and that is, it parallels in many ways the comparison that's already there on comparing to other state legislators. What it says is how the salaries, benefits, and compensation structure in the Vermont General Assembly compare to the mean and median compensation and benefits of Vermont residents. I thank the committee for its listening to the proposal and its consideration, and I ask the body's support.
Member from South Burlington.
Madam Speaker, the member from Northfield presented her amendment to the Government Operations and Military Affairs Committee this morning. This amendment would ensure and specify the working group created by this bill include the mean and median compensation and benefits of Vermont residents in its review of legislative compensation structure. The committee found that this amendment would further clarify the intention of this bill. The committee found it favorable in a straw poll of 12-0-0 and asked the body to join them in voting yes.
The question is, shall the House amend its proposal of amendment as offered by the member from Northfield? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have amended the House proposal of amendment. Next is the second amendment offered by the member from Northfield, which is printed in today's calendar. Member from Northfield.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To follow the intent of this amendment requires going back to the original bill, not even the amendment offered in the House. And it's just one sentence, which I can read to the body. It's being struck and replaced in my proposal of amendment. So it's important to understand what it said. Because when I looked at it and read it, I was actually somewhat more stunned and distressed than any other part of the bill. And that was a simple statement that says, in reference to the working group, drafts of the working group's report shall be confidential unless publicly released. And I looked at that and I said, oh my gosh, of all things to start kicking in some secrecy in the process and lack of transparency, to do it with a working group that's looking at compensation for legislators, what are we thinking? Fortunately, that's not what was intended by that language. My concern remained after hearing an explanation from Legislative Counsel that if I read it to mean the working group members could be looking at it, but if it wasn't publicly posted or announced yet, it would be kept confidential, that other people might read it that way as well. And what it was actually intended to reflect was an increasing demand on Legislative Counsel under public records requests to disclose works in progress within Legislative Counsel and the Joint Fiscal Office before a draft even went to the public, went to the committee. Once it gets to the committee, it is intended still to be a public document at the point that the committee receives it. So what I'm offering with the assistance of Legislative Counsel, who was actually the one who had requested this language be included in the bill and for future consideration as we address other working groups, the language that you'll find on page 3570 makes it very explicit what was intended by the language by saying drafts of the working group's report that are in progress but have not yet been shared with the working group shall be confidential. I think that clarifies the intent and makes it very clear that we do not have an intention to withhold from the public any documents that the working group has in front of it. So I ask the body's support. Thank you.
Member from South Burlington.
Madam Speaker, the member from Northfield presented her amendment to the Government Operations and Military Affairs Committee this morning. This amendment would clarify that drafts of work done by the working group created by this bill will be available to the public as soon as they are available to the working group. The committee found that this amendment helpfully clarifies the intent of the language of the bill and found it favorable on a straw poll of 11-0-1 and ask the body to join them in voting yes.
The question is, shall the House amend its proposal of amendment as offered by the member from Northfield? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have amended the House proposal of amendment. And now the member from Chittenden, Representative Harrison, offers an amendment that is printed in today's calendar. Member from Chittenden.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Before I forget, I want to thank the committee for indulging me a second day in a row. I only had one amendment today, so but we had a good discussion. Anyhow, yesterday, the chamber voted to increase the compensation of legislators beginning in 2025. It is my intent through this amendment I am offering that when the pay hike takes effect in 2025, that reimbursement for expenses will only be for actual, not a flat per diem. The amendment will help us be transparent to Vermonters. We won't be accepting $69 per day for food when we might only be spending $30. We won't be paid $134 per night for lodging if our room costs us $75 per night. If the room cost is $134, as I understand it is across the street, you will get reimbursed for that amount, and you won't be taxed on that amount. Under this arrangement, some may indicate we are not being fair in how expenses are compensated. If we receive more than the actual, you might say we earn $811 per week, but that doesn't include excess expense money we may receive under the per diems. Currently, we are reimbursed for actual mileage coming to Montpelier. Two members sharing a ride do not get the mileage for both, just the one who is using their car. Why should that be different if two members share a room? Under current law, each member is entitled to receive the $134 per diem per night, regardless of what the actual cost is. The flat per diems show up additionally as taxable income. The amendment can be found on page 3530 of today's calendar. First instance adds a new section 3A that crosses out the allowance for and leaves reimbursement for. The second instance of amendment adds a new section 4A, and it removes the option to collect the flat per diems for food and lodging. Both sections take effect in 2025 when the new higher pay amounts take effect. When this new section becomes effective, legislators will get reimbursed for their actual expenses. Members won't receive $69 per day for meals unless they spend $69. Members won't receive $134 per night unless you spend $134. The state will save an estimated $130,000 annually, as it not will be required to pay the employer's share of Social Security and Medicare taxes based on the current pace of $1.7 million for an 18-week section in legislative expenses. This compares to $2.6 million of current legislative pay for that same 18-week session. The state will also save an untold amount of expense reimbursement if the actual expenses are less than that per diems, which I expect they are. And just like mileage reimbursements, this will put Vermont in compliance with the federal accountable plan requirements, so members will no longer be taxed on these reimbursements. As I indicated earlier, Madam Speaker, this is about transparency and about being fair. If we want to increase our pay, and we have every right to do that, we should not mask additional income with expense reimbursement over and above what those expenses are. This is not hard to do. It does not require receipts unless the Director of Legislative Operation indicates that he needs them. The Operations Director indicated to the committee there could be costs to administer this change in the expense system. They will have time to figure that out. And if a reasonable request for resources is put in, I am more than happy as one member of Appropriations to support that in the fiscal year 25 budget. Madam Speaker, members of the Appropriations Committee already do this on Mondays when the rest of the legislature is not in session. When we meet on Mondays, we are only allowed to get reimbursed with actual costs. If we spend $9.50 for lunch, that is what we are allowed to submit. The per diems for meals and lodging do not apply when the legislature is not in session. And the actual expenses for Mondays are not taxable as they are the rest of the week. Madam Speaker, let's pass this amendment, add transparency and tax fairness to the state and to our members. Thank you. When the vote is taken, I request that it be done by roll.
The member from Chittenden requests that when the vote is taken, it be taken by roll. Is the member sustained? The member is sustained. When the vote is taken, it will be taken by roll. Member from South Burlington.
Madam Speaker, the member from Chittenden presented his amendment to the Government Operations and Military Affairs Committee this morning. This amendment would make changes to the structure of compensation of legislators that the working group created by the bill will be addressing this summer. The committee found that this amendment would change the structure of compensation in a way that legislative operations testified would increase workload, tracking, and assisting the reporting of actual expenses for 180 legislators. S39 allows legislators to report actual expenses or take the taxable allowances for lodging and meals. We do not support removing the ability to accept the allowances at this time. The committee found this amendment unfavorable on a straw poll of 9-3-0 and asked the body to vote no.
The question is, shall the House amend its proposal of amendment as offered by the member from Chittenden? Are you ready for the question? Member from Northfield.
Madam Speaker, I can't help but comment on the thought that because the working group will be looking at it, we wouldn't want to adjust this now. Madam Speaker, that's exactly why we shouldn't be adjusting salaries now either. We should be waiting for the actual deep dive information to come back to us.
Member from Burlington.
Madam Speaker, may I interrogate the presenter of the amendment?
The member from Chittenden is interrogated.
Madam Speaker, upon reading the amendment, I don't see any mention of a limit on expenses. Am I missing something, or is there no limit?
Madam Speaker, there is a limit. Let me just find the actual wording. It's limited to the current per diems. Obviously, the per diems are adjusted annually, so whatever the current per diems is. Yes, okay. If you look on the last part of the amendment, the amount of weekly reimbursement available pursuant to this subdivision for each week shall not exceed an amount equal to the daily amount for lodging determined by Montpelier, and there's similar wording for the number of days, and there's similar wording in the food. So it does have a limit. It can't be any more. If that were in effect today, you couldn't charge more than $69 a day for food. You couldn't charge more than $134 for lodging. One of the differences would be, as an accountable plan, it would be not be taxable income as it is today.
Madam Speaker, just one more question. Is the main difference between the amendment and the underlying bill, is the main difference of your amendment, of one's amendment, that one gets the actual expenses spent up to the maximum versus having a choice? between getting actual expenses and just taking the stipend?
Madam Speaker, next year in S39, which has a provision that I'm very familiar with because it's similar to a bill I introduced earlier this session. But that was before the conversation of adjusting the pay as well. The underlying bill next year in 2024 allows members to either continue accepting their per diems at the amounts, whatever they are next year, which will be taxable income, or getting reimbursed for actual expenses up to the amount of the per diems, which will not be taxable. That is a choice right now in S39 that members can take next year. In 2025, given that we are increasing the salaries and the daily pay for legislators, I have taken away that option. If this amendment passes, it would only be reimbursed for actual expenses.
All right, thank you, member.
The question is, shall the House amend its proposal of amendment as offered by the member from Chittenden? Member from St. Albans City.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank the member from Chittenden for coming to the House Government Operations and Military Affairs Committee and his thoughtfulness about the way that we report expenses and share the value of transparency. I also want to just say that no matter how many amendments he brings, he is always welcome in the House Gov Ops Committee. Our committee really embraced the idea that was inherent in the bill that the member from Chittenden introduced to us earlier this session and is in S39, where members are able in S39 to report their actual expenses and not be taxed up to the allowance for meals and lodging, or choose to just take the per diem. We heard from the Director of Legislative Operations today that to assist members in reporting different expense amounts for 180 of us each week would be a pretty significant change. That was just one of many reasons we thought about hesitating until we get the report back from the working group to determine what we need. I know the member from Northfield, I want to respond to her very fair comment that we are taking a couple of steps to act on the two key things that we've heard over and over again that are barriers starting in 2025 to legislative service, the pay and healthcare benefits. Those are the two key things that in everything that we've looked at over the years have been talked about as barriers to service here. And so, yes, we are going there, but on some of this particular detail, the committee felt that we didn't agree with this particular change. So we urge the body to vote no on this amendment.
The question is, shall the House amend its proposal of amendment as offered by the member from Chittenden? Are you ready for the question? If so, will the clerk please commence to call the roll?
Andrews of Westford.
2 minutes. Will the House please come to order and members kindly take their seats? I would like to remind members that we are in the middle of a roll call vote. Members and guests are prohibited from using computers, phones, or any type of electronic device. Please refrain from passing notes and conversation during a roll call. And when the clerk calls your name, please answer in a loud and clear voice so the clerk can accurately record your vote. The question is, shall the House amend its proposal of amendment as offered by the member from Chittenden? Will the clerk please continue to call the roll?
Andriano of Orwell. Anthony of Berry City. Harrison of Weathersfield. Arsenault of Williston. Austin of Colchester. Bartholomew of Heartland. Bartley of Fairfax. Beck of St. Johnsbury. Rebecca of Winooski. Byrong of Vergennes. Black of Essex. Bloomley of Burlington. Bongarts of Manchester. Boslin of Westminster. Boyden of Cambridge. Brady of Williston. Brennan of Georgia. Brennan of Colchester. Brown of Richmond. Brownell of Pownell. Brumstead of Shelburne. Burdett of West Rutland. Burke of Brattleboro. Burrows of West Windsor. Buss of Woodstock. Campbell of St. Johnsbury. Canfield of Fairhaven. Carpenter of Hyde Park. Carroll of Bennington. Casey of Montpelier. Chapin of East Montpelier. Chase of Chester. Chase of Colchester. Chestnut Tangerman of Middletown Springs. Christie of Hartford. Chena of Burlington. Clifford of Rutland City. Coffey of Guilford. Cole of Hartford. Conlon of Cornwall. Corcoran of Bennington. Cordes of Lincoln. DeMar of Enosburg. Demereux of Corinth. Dickinson of St. Albans Town. Dodge of Essex. Dolan of Essex Junction. Dolan of Waitsfield. Donahue Northfield. Durfee of Shaftesbury. Elder of Starksboro. Emmons of Springfield. Farley's Rubio of Barnet. Galfetti of Berrytown. Garifano of Essex. Goldman of Rockingham. Ghostland of Northfield. Graham of Williamstown. I'm sorry, Graham. Thank you. Granning of Jericho. Gregoire of Fairfield. Hango of Berkshire. Harrison of Chittenden. Hedrick of Burlington. Higley of Lowell. Higley of Lowell. Thank you. Holcomb of Norwich. Hooper of Randolph. Hooper of Burlington. Houghton of Essex Junction. Howard of Rutland City. Hyman of South Burlington. James of Manchester. Jerome of Brandon. Kornheiser of Brattleboro. Krasnow of South Burlington. Labor of Morgan. LaBounty of Linden. Lally of Shelburne. Lalone of South Burlington. Lamont of Morristown. Lanford of Vergennes. LaRush of Franklin. Levitt of Grand Isle. Lipsky of Stowe. Logan of Burlington. Long of Newfane. McGuire of Rutland City. Marcotte of Coventry. Maslin of Thetford. Matos of Milton. McCann of Montpelier. McCarthy of St. Albans City. McCoy of Poultney. McFawn of Berrytown. McGill of Bridport. Mahali of Calais. Minier of South Burlington. Morgan of Milton. Morse of Springfield. Morrissey of Bennington. Rowicki of Putney. Mulvaney Stanek of Burlington. Nicole of Ludlow. Knott of Rutland City. Noise Wolcott. Nugent of South Burlington. O'Brien of Tunbridge. Odie of Burlington. Oliver of Sheldon. Page of Newport City. Ayala of Londonderry. Parsons of Newberry. Parsons of Newberry. Thank you. Pat of Worcester. Perla Danville. Peterson of Clarendon. Houch of Heinsberg. Priestley of Bradford. Rachelson of Burlington. Rice of Dorset. Roberts of Halifax. Samus of Castleton. Sakowitz of Randolph. Shia Middlebury. Shaw of Pittsford. Sheldon of Middlebury. Sebelia of Dover. Sims of Craftsbury. Small of Winooski. Smith of Derby. Squirrel of Underhill. Stebbins of Burlington. Stevens of Waterbury. Stone of Burlington. Supernaut of Barnard. Taylor of Milton. Taylor of Colchester. Templeman of Brownington. Tolino of Brattleboro. Toof of St. Albans Town. Torrey of Moortown. Troiano of Stannard. Walker of Swanton. Waters Evans of Charlotte. White of Bethel. Whitman of Bennington. Williams of Berry City. Williams of Granby. Wilson of Linden. Wood of Waterbury. Brownell of Pownell. Christie of Hartford. Roberts of Halifax. Wood of Waterbury.
Members, please listen to the results of your vote. Those voting yes, 35. Those voting no, 110. The nays have it, and you have declined to amend the House proposal of amendment. Now, please listen to the third reading of the bill.
S39, an act relating to compensation and benefits for members of the Vermont General Assembly.
The question is, shall the bill pass in concurrence with proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? Member from Berkshire.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. S39 came to the House at the very end of a long, busy legislative session with little time to take testimony. While it contains provisions that certainly deserve thoughtful consideration, it is clearly apparent by the number of proposed amendments to this language that this bill is not ready for further consideration by this body. For that reason, I will be voting no.
The question is, shall the bill pass in concurrence with proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have passed the bill in concurrence with proposal of amendment. Now, members, we will turn to, here's the order, H31, H62, H77, H86. With that, Member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to suspend our rules in order to take up for immediate consideration off the notice calendar, House Bill 31, which is an act relating to aquatic nuisance control? Do you want to?
Sorry, I'm in my own world here. Madam Speaker, I make a motion to suspend rules and in order to take up off the notice calendar for immediate consideration, H31.
You have heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have suspended our rules to take up House Bill 31 for immediate consideration. House Bill 31 is an act relating to aquatic nuisance control. The bill passed the Senate with a proposal of amendment that is printed in today's calendar. The pending question is, shall the House concur in the Senate proposal of amendment? Member from Manchester.
Madam Speaker, this is the bill that set up a study to look at the use of chemicals in lakes for control of invasive species. It is set up with 7 members. The changes that came over from the Senate, very briefly, are that instead of 4 legislators, 2 from the House, 2 from the Senate, we'll have 1 from the House, 1 from the Senate, and those 2 members will be replaced by 2 scientists from UVM who work in this arena. It changes the date of the first meeting from July 31 to September 1, and it adds the per diem and expenses for those not otherwise compensated for their work on the committee. The committee reviewed the proposed changes from the Senate, and on a straw poll vote of 11-0-0, voted to accept the changes and recommend the same to the House.
And now for the Committee on Appropriations. Member from Underhill. Oh, hold on one moment. Apologies, that is unnecessary. So the question is, shall the House concur in the Senate proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have concurred in the Senate proposal of amendment. Member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to suspend our rules to take up for immediate consideration off the notice calendar House Bill 62, which is an act relating to the Interstate Counseling Compact?
Madam Speaker, I make a motion to suspend rules in order to take up for immediate consideration off the notice calendar, H62.
You have heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have suspended our rules to take up House Bill 62 for immediate consideration. House Bill 62 is an act relating to the Interstate Counseling Compact. The bill passed the Senate with a proposal of amendment that is printed in today's calendar. The pending question is, shall the House concur in the Senate proposal of amendment? Member from Winooski.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. H62, as you all remember, is the Interstate Counseling Compact Bill, which we looked at last month. And this would allow licensed mental health counselors in Vermont to practice along with other mental health counselors in other states that joined the compact, opening up access to mental health counseling for Vermonters, and thus helping us to achieve one of our most needed services in this state. And this amendment that the Committee on Healthcare looked at simply adds the enacting clause, which was just an oversight when we passed the bill earlier this session. The committee requests your support, and on a straw poll vote, we passed it out at 9-0-2.
The question is, shall the House concur in the Senate proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have concurred in the Senate proposal of amendment. Members, to give you an update on the bill order here, next is House Bill 77, then we'll take up House Bill 86, followed by House Bill 461, followed by House Bill 476. Member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to suspend our rules to take up for immediate consideration off the notice calendar House Bill 77, which is an act relating to Vermont's adoption of the Physical Therapy Licensure Compact?
Madam Speaker, I make a motion to suspend rules in order to take up off the notice calendar for immediate consideration H77.
You have heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have suspended our rules to take up House Bill 77 for immediate consideration. House Bill 77 is an act relating to Vermont's adoption of the Physical Therapy Licensure Compact. The bill passed the Senate with a proposal of amendment that is printed in today's notice calendar. The pending question is, shall the House concur in the Senate proposal of amendment? Member from Clarendon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The amendment to H77 can be found on page 3662 of today's calendar. And it is quite simple. What the Senate has elected to do is to add the words "and physical therapist assistant" to Section 2E of the bill. And Section 2E2 deals with the office may inquire into the criminal background history of applicants, and it lists 4, A, B, C, D, and E was added, physical therapist license under 26 VSA Chapter 38, and they want to insert after license and physical therapist assistance. That is the only change to the bill. On a straw poll of 10-01, the committee approved.
The question is, shall the House concur in the Senate proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have concurred in the Senate proposal of amendment. Member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to suspend our rules to take up for immediate consideration off the notice calendar House Bill 86, which is an act relating to Vermont's adoption of the Audiology and Speech Language Pathology Interstate Compact?
Madam Speaker, I make a motion to suspend rules in order to take up for immediate consideration off the notice calendar H86.
You have heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have suspended our rules to take up House Bill 86 for immediate consideration. House Bill 86 is an act relating to Vermont's adoption of the Audiology and Speech Language Pathology Interstate Compact. The bill passed the Senate with a proposal of amendment that is printed in today's notice calendar. The pending question is, shall the House concur in the Senate proposal of amendment? Member from Barnett.
Madam Speaker, the Senate has returned to us H86, the Licensure Compact Bill for speech-language pathologists and audiologists, without any changes to the compact provisions. In this single instance of amendment, They have taken the opportunity to update existing statute, namely 1 VSA Chapter 5, Subchapter 5, by revising the terms that we use to refer to deaf, hard of hearing, or deafblind Vermonters. In addition, this bill now updates the services that are available to members of this community and also to those who are not proficient in the English language during judicial proceedings or any other administrative hearings. Your House Healthcare Committee has now become acquainted with yet another acronym, CART. CART stands for Communication Access Real-Time Translation, and it refers to the method in which a stenographer can rapidly convert spoken words into text that may be displayed on a screen. These services will now be available to all as an alternative to the existing use of interpreters, such as those who communicate in American Sign Language, or ASL. CART is now being added as another tool, like an interpreter or assistive listening devices, that shall be available by right to those who face official proceedings. This amendment also mandates that the state will ensure access to CART and interpreters by making and maintaining contracts with providers of these services. Your House Healthcare Committee has reviewed the Senate's proposal of amendment, and with a straw vote of 9-0-2, we voted in favor of its adoption. We strongly encourage this body's support and hope that you will all vote yes.
The question is, shall the House concur in the Senate proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have concurred in the Senate proposal of amendment. Just to update members on the list, the next group of bills will be House Bill 461, House Bill 476, House Bill 488, and House Bill 490. With that, member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to suspend our rules to take up for immediate consideration off the notice calendar House Bill 461, which is an act relating to making miscellaneous changes in education laws?
Madam Speaker, I make a motion to suspend rules in order to take up off the notice calendar for immediate consideration H 461.
You have heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have suspended our rules to take up House Bill 461 for immediate consideration. House Bill 461 is an act relating to making miscellaneous changes in education laws. The bill passed the Senate with a proposal of amendment that is printed in today's notice calendar. The pending question is, shall the House concur in the Senate proposal of amendment? Member from Cornwall.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. H 461 traveled to the Senate, came back unchanged with what the House had sent over there, except one minor thing, and with two additions. Sections 1 through 3, sections 4, sections 5 are equivalent to what the House voted on when the bill made its way to the Senate. Section 6 is the one minor change. It extends the work of the Ethnic and Social Equity Standards Advisory Working Group from what we had passed out, which was July 1st, 2023, to September 1st, 2023, based on a recommendation by the group. Section 7 is an addition, which essentially takes the work of that group and extends it with what I would call a subcommittee called the Act 1 Technical Advisory Group. This is a subsection of the larger group that I just mentioned, and they are remaining active to act in a role of advisors while the State Board of Education and the Agency of Education continue to work on the education quality standards that came out of the original Ethnic and Social Equity Standards Advisory Working Group. They are there to provide advice and information as needed and do not have any regular work meeting times, and there is no money attached to it. Sections 9, 10, and 11, another addition by the Senate, streamlines, or let's say makes consistent election rules for union school districts so that they read that in order to be on the ballot, you require 60 votes or 1% of the registered voters, whichever is less. In multi-town union boards, whether it's an elementary school board, a high school board, a unified union district board, there are different models of representation. If it is a proportional representation, the current law is 30 signatures or 1% of the registered voters, whichever is less. However, when you moved on to at-large boards or modified at-large boards, it was a flat 60. This adds in the language or 1% of the registered voters, whichever is less in the latter two cases. Section 12 is just the effective dates. The House Committee on Education voted 10-02 to recommend the House concur with the Senate proposal of amendment.
The question is, shall the House concur in the Senate proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have concurred in the Senate proposal of amendment. Next, just to remind people, we're moving on to H476, followed by 488, followed by H490, followed by S89, followed by H479. Member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to suspend our rules to take up for immediate consideration off the notice calendar House Bill 476, which is an act relating to miscellaneous changes in law enforcement officer trainings?
Madam Speaker, I make a motion to suspend rules to take up off the notice calendar for immediate consideration H476.
You have heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have suspended our rules to take up House Bill 476 for immediate consideration. House Bill 476 is an act relating to miscellaneous changes to law enforcement officer training laws. The bill passed the Senate with a proposal of amendment that is printed in today's notice calendar. The pending question is, shall the House concur in the Senate proposal of amendment? Member from Cambridge.
Madam Speaker, as members may recall, H476, an act relating to miscellaneous changes to law enforcement officer training laws, would implement recommendations from the 2022 Domestic Violence Fatality Review Commission report. The Senate has proposed a strike-all amendment of H476, and I will now walk through the bill and the changes that have been made. Section 1 has not been changed. Section 2 is session law and will require the Vermont Law Enforcement Advisory Board to update the domestic violence involving law enforcement model policy by January 1st, 2024. The Senate has changed some terminology used within this section that does not alter the substance of this section. Section 3 has not been changed. Section 4 amends 20 VSA 2407 to rewrite the section to clarify which types of conduct the Vermont Criminal Justice Council may take action on for a first offense, and enable the Vermont Criminal Justice Council to take action for a first offense of conduct previously added in Section 3, subdivision H and I, which the House put in previously. Section 4A requires the Vermont Criminal Justice Council to report back on whether current statutes pertaining to law enforcement officer unprofessional conduct should be amended to apply to all off-duty conduct, whether these statutes should be amended to adjust the scope of conduct that Vermont Criminal Justice Council may take action on for a first offense, and any other recommendations as deemed appropriate by the Vermont Criminal Justice Council. Section 5 has not been changed. Section 5A and 5B remove references in statute that provide funding to the Vermont Criminal Justice Council's domestic violence training position from the Domestic and Sexual Violence Special Fund. Testimony indicated that this position is now entirely funded by general funds to Vermont Criminal Justice Council. Section 6 is the effective date, which has not been changed. The committee heard from Legislative Counsel, the reporter of the bill, the Attorney General, and on a straw poll of 12-0-0, your Committee on Government Operations and Military Affairs moves to concur with the Senate proposal of amendment and requests your support.
The question is, shall the House concur in the Senate proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have concurred in the Senate proposal of amendment. Member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to suspend our rules to take up for immediate consideration off the notice calendar House Bill 488, which is an act relating to the approval of the adoption of the charter of the town of Ludlow?
Madam Speaker, I make a motion to suspend rules in order to take up for immediate consideration H488.
You have heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have suspended our rules to take up House Bill 488 for immediate consideration. House Bill 488 is an act relating to approval of the adoption of the charter of the town of Ludlow. The bill passed the Senate with a proposal of amendment that is printed in today's calendar. The pending question is, shall the House concur in the Senate proposal of amendment? Member from Cambridge.
Madam Speaker, H488, an act relating to the approval of the adoption of the charter of the town of Ludlow, would authorize the town select board to warrant articles by floor vote or Australian ballot. The Senate has proposed to amend Section 2 of the bill, Powers of the Select Board, by striking out all after the heading and inserting in lieu of the following. Except as otherwise specifically provided by law or a vote of the citizens of the town at an annual or special meeting, the Select Board may determine the articles to be voted upon by Australian ballot at a special or annual town meeting and shall indicate such in the warning. This language is consistent with the Underhill Charter and does not significantly alter the bill. On a straw poll of 12-0-0, your House Committee on Government Operations and Military Affairs moves to concur with the Senate proposal of amendment and requests your support.
The question is, shall the House concur in the Senate proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have concurred in the Senate proposal of amendment. Just to remind people where we are, the next three bills will be House Bill 490, Senate Bill 89, and House Bill 479. With that, member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to suspend our rules to take up for immediate consideration off the notice calendar, House Bill 490, which is an act relating to approving the merger of the village of Lyndonville with the town of Linden.
Madam Speaker, I make a motion to suspend rules in order to take up off the notice calendar for immediate consideration H490.
You have heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have suspended our rules to take up House Bill 490 for immediate consideration. House Bill 490 is an act relating to approving the merger of the Village of Lyndonville with the Town of Linden. The bill passed the Senate with a proposal of amendment that is printed in today's notice calendar. The pending question is, shall the House concur in the Senate proposal of amendment? Member from Milton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll give my colleague from Government Ops and Military Affairs a break from her 2 in a row there. So I will be talking to you on, yes, House Bill 490, which is an act approving the merger of the Village of Lyndonville and the Town of Linden. If you want to follow along, you can look on today's calendar on page 3691. We have 3 instances of amendment that came over from the Senate. The first one is classified as a security amendment. It develops a process for a citizen petition for potential enactment. It requires any proposed ordinance be reviewed by the town's attorney before submittal for a special town meeting vote. Under this amendment, the town's attorney is required to check 2 items. First, correct repetitive, unlawful, or unconstitutional provisions, and B, to ensure accuracy, clarity, and precision in its text, legal references, and phrasing. In other words, the ability for the attorney to make technical corrections as long as they don't change the meaning or effect of the proposed ordinance. The second instance amendment is in section 2 of the bill. In subsection 42B, after the word "the," they struck out the words ballot boxes and insert the words in lieu of thereof polling places. In other words, they did not want polling places to be confused with ballot deposit boxes. And the third and last instance amendment, again, is in section 2 in subsection 82 this time. This amendment fixes a couple of listing errors, and these are huge. There's 2 of them. It puts a colon after the word and in subsection F1 makes the large letter C on the word consistent a small c. Madam Speaker, your Committee on Government Operations and Military Affairs took a straw poll on the Senate amendments and found it favorable on a vote of 11-01, and we ask for your support.
The question is, shall the House concur in the Senate proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have concurred in the Senate proposal of amendment. Member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to suspend our rules to take up for immediate consideration off the notice calendar Senate Bill 89, which is an act relating to establishing a forensic facility?
Madam Speaker, I make a motion to suspend rules in order to take up off the notice calendar for immediate consideration S89.
You have heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Oh, member from Poultney.
Did you go through this bill? Or am I like, do you have to, are we voting on the bill, or did somebody have to stand up and talk about the bill?
Member from Poultney, you just made the motion to take Senate Bill 89 off the notice calendar.
Sorry.
Okay, so the member from Poultney moves that we suspend our rules to take up Senate Bill 89 for immediate consideration. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have suspended our rules to take up Senate Bill 89 for immediate consideration. Senate Bill 89 is an act relating to establishing a forensic facility. The bill passed the Senate with a proposal of amendment to the House proposal of amendment that is printed in today's notice calendar. The pending question is, shall the House concur in the Senate proposal of amendment to the House proposal of amendment? Member from Rutland City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So the Senate came back to the House with some very simple changes to this bill. For those of you who don't recall, in the flurry of bills we've worked on recently, what this bill does is it's an act relating to establishing a forensic facility. We're trying to get everything in order to do this properly. And one of the portions of this bill was Section 6 created a working group on policies pertaining to individuals with intellectual disabilities who are criminal justice involved. And there was an extensive list of people who would be helpful to be on that working group. And what the Senate did, they made a few minor changes. They've added a representative appointed by the Center for Crime Victim Services from the group that was supposed to be consulted to a group to being an actual member of the working group. They also added the president of the Vermont State Employees Association or designee, again, moved from the groups to be consulted to become an actual member of the working group. And then they added two new persons, the executive director of the Office of Racial Equity or designee, and the chief superior judge or designee, both added to the working group. This adds additional experience, additional perspective to this working group. And in a discussion in House Judiciary, these changes were found favorable on a straw poll vote of 902, and we ask for the body's support. Thank you.
The question is, shall the House concur in the Senate proposal of amendment to the House proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have concurred in the Senate proposal of amendment to the House proposal of amendment. Member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to suspend our rules to take up for immediate consideration off the notice calendar House Bill 479, which is an act relating to the transportation program and miscellaneous changes to laws related to transportation?
Madam Speaker, I make a motion to suspend rules to take up off the notice calendar for immediate consideration H479.
You have heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have suspended our rules to take up House Bill 479 for immediate consideration. House Bill 479 is an act relating to the transportation program and miscellaneous laws to related changes to laws related to transportation. The bill was referred to a committee of conference on the disagreeing votes of the two chambers. The conference committee has met and considered the same, and it recommends that the House adopt its report, which is printed in today's notice calendar. The pending question is, shall the report of the committee of conference be adopted? Member from Guilford.
Madam Speaker, this body passed out H79, otherwise known as the T-bill, on March 30th. And just as a reminder, H479 includes an $870 million budget, which maintains and builds critical transportation infrastructure and services across Vermont and helps us make important progress in our commitment to addressing climate change in the transportation sector. When the bill went to the Senate made several changes, and there were several disagreements between the two chambers, and the Committee of Conference met twice, and today I'm pleased to present with our Committee of Conference report. The report appears in today's calendar, beginning on page 3693 for members who want to follow along, and our documents that have our side-by-side appear on the Senate Transportations Committee page on May 9th. So I'll now walk you through some of the highlights of the changes. The biggest change I think that members will notice is that starting at the end of the bill, the Senate removed sections 35 through 76. These are the sections that were the fees with the Department of Motor Vehicle, and the House concurred with that. Those changes we will hear tomorrow are included in the FY24 budget. I wanted to start by highlighting some of the funding disagreements and how we resolved some of those. We fought for the House position on how to approach support for Green Mountain Transit. As the members will recall, we had recommended $1 million to help Green Mountain Transit transition to be able to maintain fare free until January, and help them modernize their fare boxes. The House back in March had recommended $1 million in one-time funding that we had recommended would come from the highway maintenance budget. The Senate disagreed with that position and removed that, but in the conference committee, we were able to restore $850,000 to do that with the understanding that Green Mountain Transit would tap $150,000 in their reserves. And this is really important in helping them make this important transition. And some additional language is also reflected in section 14, which I'll address later. Additionally, in sections 4 and sections 5, touch on some of the differences in funding, how the chambers wanted to fund the transportation projects. I want to note that this year, it was unusual. The transportation budget was very much interlocked or intertwined with the capital budget and the general fund. And as members might recall, the funding of the transportation program this year relied on $10.9 million from the general fund. The Senate came up with a different solution to that, and much of that was they would tap $3 million and swapping out paving projects for the cash fund, and an additional $11 million in the increased DMV fees from January 1 to June 30th. So that made the funding whole. In section 5, there was a one-time appropriation proposed by the administration to fund the St. Albans District Maintenance Facility. The House position was that we thought we had some funding available to do that, and they did not require funding from the capital bill. But this was a compromise that we made, and this is a $3.5 million that will be, and that was reported earlier in the capital budget. Moving on to section 7, the Rail Trail Community Connectivity Grants. We all know and appreciate the value that the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail brings economically and recreationally to our state. We in our committee had heard extensive testimony about where some funding was coming from, an earmark through Senator Sanders' office, and we had, through testimony, understood that there was enough funding for this. But we're going to establish these connectivity grants, which will enable things like rail trail, like places for people to park and be able to connect to the trails. So we agreed with the Senate's addition of this in the bill. Moving on to section 8, this concerns the sale or lease of the Caledonia County State Airport. When the bill was in the House, this proposal had not come before the House, and this was a very late-breaking proposal. The Senate had included some language around the sale or lease of the airport. And just to remind members that AOT already has the authority to lease the airports, but they require authorization from the Vermont Assembly to sell an airport. What we did with the House, your House committee did see the merits in this proposal, but we believe what we did was strengthen the language to ensure that both the state and the town of Linden that will be involved in receiving these proposals has all the information and tools that they need to better evaluate such a proposal, and that should there be a sale of the company that they were purchasing the airport, potentially purchasing the airport, that there would be a way for the state to intervene and have a right of first refusal. Moving on to Section 10, this was has to do with the a project in Bennington. There was some negotiation that we had to clarify some of this language. We had removed this on the House side, the Senate added it in, and through some conversations, we got some language that we were all comfortable with about how to move forward with the town of Bennington on this project. And sections, moving, I'm going to the next highlight is section 14 and 15, which really concern the Green Mountain Transit that I spoke about earlier. In the Senate, there was some additional testimony and knowledge about and conversation about how we fund public transportation. And so we felt that they made some good additions by having the Vermont Public Transportation Association lead this report to provide our House and Senate Transportation Committees with recommendations on local funding. Additionally, they added in section 16 requesting some recommendations on ensuring that the most vulnerable Vermonters have access to public transportation, and that they're not at risk of being adversely affected as we transition back to collecting fares. Because in the state, we use a braided service model, and where Vermonters can access public transportation and rides in other ways. So this will be critical in making our decisions for next year. And then moving on to sections 18 through 26, when the House made our report, I think you all heard a lot about our vehicle incentive programs, which are really exciting and will really help us with addressing our climate goals. The Senate made some very good changes. They caught something that we did not see, and that was a provision that will allow nonprofit mobility organizations to be eligible for some of these electrify your fleet incentives. And the House committee agreed with that. And then I'm almost done. In section 23, we addressed, as members might recall, when we passed the BAA, we included $100,000 to be allocated for electric bike incentives. As members may know, that those electric bike incentives went out pretty quickly last year after a long delay in getting the program started and up on its feet. And we included and recommended from our committee to include $100,000 in the BAA because it's springtime, and that's when many Vermonters are buying their bikes. So we wanted to ensure that with this language that there would not be any delays. And this language also clarifies that if there's money left over from this $100,000, then it will roll into a new program that ensures that Vermonters of low-income Vermonters are the ones who benefit most from this program. And finally, we will say that there was an addition in section 40 for a mobility safety education program. And this will require the agency to develop a comprehensive micromobility safety education program with an emphasis on bicycle safety. This was something that the Senate added and that our committee was in support of. And as I said, finally, just to remind members that the bill came back up with several fewer pages as they deleted sections 35 to 76. They removed it, again, just repeating what I said at the top of my presentation, that they removed the DMV fees from this bill. So, Madam Speaker, that concludes my report on the Committee of Conference, and we ask for the body's support.
The question is, shall the report of the Committee of Conference be adopted? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have adopted the report of the Committee of Conference. Can I please see all House leadership up at the podium, please? The House will stand in a brief recess. Don't go far. Will the House come to order and members kindly take their seats? Member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to suspend our rules to message our action on the following bill, to message the following bill to the Senate forthwith, Senate Bill 89, which is an act relating to establishing a forensic facility.
Madam Speaker, I make a motion to suspend rules in order to message our action on S89 to the Senate forthwith.
The member from Poultney moves that we suspend our rules to message our action on Senate Bill 89 to the Senate forthwith. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have suspended our rules to message our action on Senate Bill 89 to the Senate forthwith. Members, after conferring with all House leadership, we do have anywhere from 2 to 3 or 4 bills coming back that we can potentially take action on. So we are going to get those bills and links out to you if we haven't already. And we're going to give a brief recess to review those and come back. So the House will stand in recess until the fall of the gavel at approximately 4:20 p.m.